English language teaching glossary. English teaching methodology. Fields within English language study. EAL, English as an additional language. EFL, English as a foreign language. ESOL, English for speakers of other languages. ESL, English as a second language. EAP, English for academic purposes. ESAP, English for specific academic purposes. ESP, English for specific purposes. Fields within English language teaching. ELT, English language teaching. TEAP, teaching English for academic purposes. TEFL, teaching English as a foreign language. TESOL, teaching English to speakers of other languages. TESL, teaching English as a second language. Fields within English language study. EAL, English as an additional language. English as an additional language, commonly taught as a language support subject in primary and high schools to help second language students with their English for study. In fact, many people now refer to EAL, English as an additional language, because in many instances people aren't learning English as a second language, but a third, fourth, or fifth. It is even referred to as EALD by some people, English as an additional language or dialect, in recognition of the fact that many people already speak a combination of languages and dialects by the time they start learning English. EFL used to be used for pretty much any English language teaching situation, but as the term of foreign is not very helpful to define the range of purposes that people have for learning English, EFL is now mostly used for English language education, which happens in non-English speaking countries. ESOL, English for speakers of other languages. A broad term that includes any English language teaching that happens with students whose first language is not English, wherever they are and for whatever purpose they are studying. ESL, English as a second language. A more specific term where students speak only one language, and this is their first exposure to foreign language learning, i.e., in primary education. EAP, English for academic purposes. Language support for university students whose first language is not English, usually provided on bridging and foundation programs, and pre-sessional courses before students enter an English-speaking university course. ESAP, English for specific academic purposes. This is a form of EAP, English for academic purposes, where the language study is related to a specific type of academic study, or a specific subject. EAP for engineering students, for example, is different from EAP for medical students. ESP, English for specific purposes. The study of language for specific jobs, interests, or other purposes, for example, English for business, English for travel and tourism, or even English for watercolor painters or sommeliers, etc. Fields within English language teaching. TEAP, teaching English for academic purposes. The teaching of EAP, English for academic purposes, as a field within ELT, English language teaching. ELT, English language teaching. Simply the practice of teaching English language classes in any context. TEFL, teaching English as a foreign language. The teaching of EFL, English as a foreign language, as a field within ELT, English language teaching. Despite how many people describe their qualification in ELT, TEFL is a field within teaching, not a certificate or qualification. It was initially used to denote the type of teaching that might occur in a country where students don't speak English regularly. For example, if you were to move to France as an English teacher, where the main language spoken is French, and people learn English so they can communicate when traveling abroad, then this would be considered TEFL. TESOL, teaching English to speakers of other languages. The teaching of ESOL, English for speakers of other languages, as a field within ELT, English language teaching. As above, TESOL is a field within ELT, not a certificate or qualification, and the use of TESOL as a qualification also muddies the waters around the role of different certificates in the industry. TESOL is an umbrella term that generally encompasses all other E-based acronyms in the world of English language teaching: TFL, TESL, ELT, etc. TESL, teaching English as a second language. The teaching of ESL, English as a second language, as a field within ELT, English language teaching. This traditionally refers to students who learn English because it is commonly spoken in their home country. For example, in countries where English is widely spoken, or in situations where migrant families living in native English-speaking communities have to learn English in order to work or go to school. TESL is considered different from TEFL because the students that are taught in these contexts have very different needs and motivations for learning the language.